One thing that I always like to kind of stress in this conversation is simply that, again, Christian communities of faith should create space for people to disagree about these issues.
Mhm.
So, again, to go back to my upbringing, there is sort of this sense where church is not a safe place to raise these kinds of questions. Because once you begin to raise questions that maybe you don't have a good answer to, then you are seen as a poop disturber. You're seen as a troublemaker. You're seen as someone who's just cultivating doubt and skepticism. But in fact, I think that the willingness to embrace and ask and wrestle with these questions, even when you're not sure what the answer is a sign of spiritual maturity.
Mm.
And just to close with this, so M. Scott Peck, and I talk about this at the end of the chapter as well. M. Scott Peck, the well-known psychologist, he talks about what is the difference between pseudo-community or false community and true community. And he says pseudo-community is where everybody has to get along and nobody is willing to raise any difficult, awkward, or uncomfortable questions or have any confrontations with anybody else. You're on your best behavior because you don't really know these people. And that's why it's pseudo community. You can't be comfortable around them. True community is when you are willing and able to embrace difficult questions, to have some degree of confrontation with one another, because it's not going to threaten your underlying shared communal narrative. And what we need to work toward are Christian communities, Christian churches, congregations, which are not pseudo communities where you're afraid to wrestle with issues of biblical violence or to raise a question about it, but rather true communities where we can embrace openly the struggles of faith and the ambiguity in the text.